We're going to keep it very basic, just how to get started, what Meshtastic is, how it works. And just as a disclaimer, I gave this at Ham Radio University. I am not an expert on this stuff. It is very new technology and I am learning. I understand enough that I can give this presentation, but I don't understand all the technical things that come with it. So at any point, if you do have a question, please ask. If you don't ask any questions while I'm talking, I think you're asleep. So interact with me, interrupt me at any point, and hopefully you'll learn something today. So we'll go to the next slide. There we go. All right, so I'm moving over this way now. So about me, because I forget who I am sometimes. I'm Daniel. That's me again. W2DIY. Oh, we got to go back one. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. I still don't know who I am. The other way. Technical difficulties. Yeah, we can go back two, please. Back one more. Oh, it's going forward now. Technology's great. Oh, well, I guess my slideshow's done, guys. Thanks for coming. Back one more. There we go. All right. Now, hopefully the technical stuff's out of the way. So, I'm Daniel. I am a part-time college senior studying radio and television broadcasting. I am in my last semester now and will be graduating in May, so yay. I am a full-time thinker of things. My brain works all the time, even when I am sleeping. And I have been a licensed amateur radio operator since February, so actually the end of this month will be 1 year since I got my license. Yay. And I first got into Meshtastic in August of last year, and I've been figuring out this crazy world since September of 2004. So that's me. Next slide. So what you will hopefully be taking away from today's presentation. First, what Meshtastic actually is, how it works in the simplest terms that I can explain it in, what it's great at, what it's not so great at, and how you can get started regardless of your budget. You could start from as low as $10, and I have options all the way up to $100 that work right out the box. So we have all those here that we'll go over. Next slide, please. So what is Meshtastic? This is the long version that I could barely say right when I try to explain it, but according to Meshtastic themselves, Meshtastic is a product that enables you to use inexpensive LoRa radios as a long-range, off-grid communications platform in areas without existing or reliable communication infrastructure. This product is 100% community-driven and open source. So next slide here. So what does that mean in simple terms? Well, Meshtastic turns tiny, low-cost devices into their own long-range, off-grid texting network without the need for cell service, Wi-Fi, or the internet. And it's built and maintained entirely by the community, and anybody can use it or contribute to it. Next slide. Now, let's talk about LoRa. It's a term that I mentioned. This is the very long definition part here that once again, I don't understand half of it. But according to the people that create this amazing technology, LoRa is a proprietary chip spread spectrum modulation format owned by Semtech Corporation. It uses the license-free sub-gigahertz radio frequency bands in 902 to 928 megahertz in the United States, with an effective range reported by the manufacturer of approximately 3 miles in urban areas or up to 10 miles in more rural areas with line of sight. Next slide. So in simple terms, by me, because I don't know what any of that stuff means, LoRa is a radio technology that lets small devices send tiny amounts of data, like text messages or location, over long distances using very minimal amounts of power. So it's not going to stream video or load web pages. So if you want that, maybe Starlink's what you're looking for, not Meshtastic. But it can reach miles away even with obstacles in the way. It's also perfect for off-grid messaging, tracking, and low bandwidth communication. Next slide. Now, Meshtastic and LoRa are not the same thing. Let's go into a little bit more of what that is. So Meshtastic is just one product that's built on top of LoRa, with a focus on people communicating with people instead of machines communicating with machines. As you all can hear if you're in the room, the Meshtastic that keeps going off in here, it sounds almost as pleasant as FT8. So, but once again, that is people to people, not computers to computers. Now, LoRa powers way more than just Meshtastic. There's other projects like LoRaWAN, the Things Network, Reticulum, MeshCore, and more. But that would take us a whole lot more presentations to go through. Today, we're focusing specifically on Meshtastic. Next slide, please. So how does Meshtastic actually use LoRa? Well, Meshtastic takes LoRa and uses it to create a mesh network for simple communications. Each Meshtastic device sends a small packet of data like text or location using LoRa's long-distance signal. Now, every node can relay messages for other nodes, which lets your messages hop across the mesh until it reaches where it needs to get to. Or in simpler terms, because I like simple terms if you couldn't tell, LoRa is the radio part of it, and Meshtastic is everything on top of that that actually makes it useful and lets us able to use it without any of that technology jargon that I don't understand. Meshtastic is going to add your apps, your channels, your encryption, you know, the lack of encryption that there is, but we'll talk about that. GPS, sensors, relaying, and group messaging. That's what Meshtastic uses LoRa for. Next slide, please. So what is Meshtastic actually good for? Well, it's good for group messaging. We've spoken about that. It's good if you're hiking, camping, if you've gone to any large events like we just had Ham Radio University. That was one that Meshtastic really shined. Basically, any time that you see your phone say no service, Meshtastic has service with air quotes here because, once again, we don't use cell towers with Meshtastic. It's also great at sharing your location. It has built-in GPS on a lot of nodes, or you can add GPS where you can see where your group is or just how far you're wandering off from your group if you're trying to stick together. It's also great at passing sensor data, so if you have a weather station, it could pass air quality, lightning detectors, or basically any other basic telemetry. And it's also great for community or emergency support. One of the great things about Meshtastic is that if the grid goes down, Meshtastic will still work. But that only happens if we build out the mesh, which is why I'm here telling you all about it. Next slide, please. Now, let's talk about things that it's bad at. It's great at a lot of things, but it is also bad at a lot of things. Encryption is one of those things that they say they're good at, but let's break it down a little bit more. So Meshtastic supports encryption, but it's not designed to be highly secure or for sensitive communication. There's been numerous exploits, including spoofed identity, denial of service attacks, and a whole lot more that have been proven effective against Meshtastic. So if you're looking for something to hide with, Meshtastic is not the place to do it. Yes? Yes. Meshtastic alone will allow you to use encryption, but if you do link your amateur radio call sign to Meshtastic, which is something you can do, those encryption features go away. Because like you mentioned, as ham radio operators, we can't have any sort of encryption. So it's not great at encryption anyway, so I don't know why anybody would want to use it for encryption, but yeah. And then we talk about the privacy here too. So location and telemetry data can be picked up and logged by public receivers, even with privacy settings enabled that are only able to reduce this. So the privacy isn't 100% there. You could do things to prevent your information from being posted online, but because, once again, the encryption isn't the best, you can still find your messages and other things getting broadcasted, not necessarily your exact messages, although someone smart enough could do that, but they can find out your location. They can get other data. They can know when's the last time you've transmitted from a location. So there's privacy concerns there. Yeah. Yeah. So Meshtastic is meant to be a little bit more private than the whatever you say on air can be used against you ideology, but we know that there's stuff out there that can get through all this stuff, so it's not completely reliable when it comes to that. And speaking on reliability, mesh networks depend on node placement, environment, and other users. So messages can be delayed, dropped, or never even delivered if the mesh is weak or hop limits are reached. So reliability isn't 100% there, but the idea is as we continue to grow the mesh in our local area, the reliability will increase. Next slide, please. So I just told you all the bad things about Meshtastic. So now you might be wondering, why does this kid want me to start using it now? Well, the thing is, the good parts of Meshtastic are really good. So although there is some downsides to it, personally, I'm not worried about encryption. I'm not worried if my messages are being encrypted. Once again, we're all ham radio operators. None of our stuff is encrypted. So this is just another tool for us to be able to use in our arsenal. So the good parts are really good. And for that reason, I suggest everybody get involved in Meshtastic. And another thing is, too, it's super affordable to get started. It's easy to get into, and it's super flexible that it can grow with you. So if you want to get started with something that works right out the box and tinker later, you could do that. Or if you want to tinker, you could do that from scratch and build your own node from scratch too. So no matter your skill level, you can get involved. I'm someone that likes to kind of just get in, turn it on and make sure it works. But I'll tinker here and there where I can because learning is cool. Next slide, please. I am not familiar. Yeah, so I can look more after the talk and we can see if I can find some information, but I'm not 100% sure about that. No? All right, everyone says no. I agree with the room then. Room says no, so no, it does not work with Arden. So going into the good parts, Meshtastic nodes come in way too many shapes and sizes. We'll go over some of them in a little bit here, but just as an example, actually, for those in the room, and I'll try to show it to the Zoom as well. This is a little node that I made. I made this at the Hope convention that happened. I think the camera's over here. I'll try to show it to the Zoom people as well, so you're all included. This is a little node that I made, soldered. It's actually the first thing I've ever soldered, so the fact that it works is already pretty cool. But yeah, no. So this was something that I put together. You can make this. It's very basic, very simple, has a few buttons and a tiny little antenna that gets you absolutely nowhere. But hey, it works, and I made it myself. So that was pretty cool. You can also buy pre-built nodes for under $100 and be up and running almost instantly. We have a table over here where Dustin KE2F, what's your call sign? KE2 something. I forget your call sign. EFX, that's the one. Yeah, I was so close yet so far. He has a bunch of nodes over there. I also have my other node over there. We'll go over some of the ones that is actually on that table over there and just other options. But you can have ones that are pre-built. You turn them on, you're good to go. Or you could buy one that you may have to solder together for the first time. And finally, if you like building things or don't mind a little soldering, you can get a very basic node together for $15 to $30. So relatively cheap we're talking about here. Now, it's not going to be crazy. It's not going to have crazy features. We'll talk about more of that in a second. Next slide, please. So this is an example of one of the ones I have on the table over there. This is the LilyGo T-Deck. It is one of the more popular models right now from Meshtastic, and it comes in at a price at $81.66, and it features GPS. It has a 2,000 milliamp hour battery. It has a touchscreen, and the coolest feature, in my opinion, is it looks like a BlackBerry. As someone that wasn't really around when BlackBerries were really a thing, it's pretty cool to have a piece of ancient technology. Next slide. This is another option. This is the Seed Studios SenseCap solar node. I actually have this one coming in the mail tomorrow. It was supposed to come yesterday so I could bring it here and show it off, but we know the post office has been running behind with this weather. So this comes in at $69.90. That is for a basic version that has no battery, no GPS, but it has a nice solar panel, and it's suitable for outdoor long-term use. And it's a 5-watt solar panel, yeah. Because these things are so low powered, that alone can power typically. You can run a single battery cell on there and you can run it for a while. If you buy their Pro model, which comes in, I think, at $89.90, so for $20 more, it will come with the batteries already installed for you. And from research I've seen online, because I can't test it until I get mine tomorrow, they run pretty well outdoors. Next slide. Another option here is LilyGo T-Echo, coming in at $48.49. The price is getting lower and lower. And just to show you the features that this one has for a lower price point, it also has GPS. It has an e-paper display for that longer battery life, and it has a much smaller battery at 850 milliamp hours. Next slide. This is one that is super popular if you want one to always have on your body. This is a Seed Studio SenseCap card. It comes in at $40.99, and it features GPS. It has an IP65 rating, so it can get a little wet. The size of a credit card, so it's super small in size, and it can run, that says 3 months. That's not right. This cannot run for 3 months on a single charge. That would be crazy, though. It can run for a while, though. I have a similar model. If I can get the clip off my belt, I can't. But it's a different model. I didn't add it to the slideshow because it's the exact same thing for basically the exact same price. And it can also run for about 2 to 3 days, depending on how much activity there is on the mesh. Yeah, 3 days, not 3 months. I actually don't know why it says 3 months, so ignore the 3 months. If it was 3 months, I'd buy like 5. That'd be great. Oh, uh-oh. Uh-oh. Please hold. It might have happened. While we wait, is there any questions? Yeah. So I I met a gentleman that he didn't have the one that actually stays on your body, but he has one of the T-Deck ones that looks like the BlackBerry. He said he actually had some issues with it interfacing with not a pacemaker, but a device that he has for diabetes. Yes. Yeah, so he has had some issues with that. It seems that the most recent firmware update we did for him fixed that issue, but I haven't seen him recently to know if that worked long term. But so there, it sounds like there is some issues, but there is been new firmware updates that seem to have mitigated the issue. So any other questions while we wait for the internet, I guess, to work again? What's up? Yes. Mesh Core works very similarly to Meshtastic. It's all the same radio frequencies, all that stuff. The only difference is how it actually operates. I actually am putting together a presentation right now that's a more advanced version of it that I go a lot more into it. The easiest way to put it is while we are growing right now on Long Island here with our mesh network, I think it's best right now to stay on Meshtastic. I think Mesh Core has a lot of benefits that will benefit down the line, but first we need to build the infrastructure before we can even consider that here. So they work very similarly. It's just more so how it chooses to pass traffic along. But while we're building here, it's easiest to get started with Meshtastic rather than Mesh Core. Okay? So So in other areas where they've ran into issues, I know in Austin, Texas is one of those areas where they've had to experience with this. They have hundreds of nodes over there, and they've built out a really great network. There is settings in Meshtastic that can be changed so that you're only communicating with your local network. So it kind of will detach you from the public network that most people get started on and what most people in the room are going to be starting on. But basically, there's settings that can be changed to limit who you're contacting and keep it within your local area. Node network, so this is all over the radio, so it works node to node. So you can, it's through a mode called MQTT. I highly advise against it because the whole point of building out a mesh network here is that we want to be able to use it off grid without the internet. So as soon as we go connecting it to the internet, these things are capable of doing that. But as soon as we start doing that, we're killing the whole point of building a mesh network. Yes. So it can be used for that, but it needs some settings changed. So I go into that a lot more in the talk that I'm putting together now. But the whole thing with that is by default, it's going to connect you to the Meshtastic MQTT servers. And simply put, it's basically just one major group chat that as soon as you connect to the internet, anyone who's on there can communicate with you. And 95% of the time, by connecting to it, you're going to crash your node at least twice because there's just so many messages coming over that. So there is groups that locally have been trying to put together their own MQTT. I know the New York Mesh puts one together. They're a very good resource here locally. And they have their own MQTT network that will keep it local to just the people that choose to opt into it. So that way we can connect. Exactly. There's just so much going on. It's not a firmware thing. It's just these devices. There's little devices. They're cheap. They're not meant to take a lot of information at once. So when you connect to the internet, you crash these things really easily. So once again, there is ways around it, but there's a lot more in depth that you have to go in there with the settings and everything. Yeah. So your typical ham repeater, this will never communicate with that. This is its own separate frequency range, its own thing. There is repeaters that you can use in Meshtastic that you could purchase and set up as a repeater, but they're not going to communicate with like our amateur radio repeaters on other frequencies. No, but it's very ham radio adjacent. So this relates to ham radio in the sense that the information is all going to travel the same way we communicate with our HTs. Hi, Ed. Do you have a question or a comment? Oh, go ahead. Yes. Yeah. This is license free, completely license free. Correct. Yeah. Yes. Oh, I mean, I don't know if we'd be able to make it across the country, but we could definitely make it out of the state. A great example is New York City. All the time, there's people from Philadelphia that pop onto their mesh area, people from Jersey that will pop onto the mesh area. So Meshtastic will only go so far without that internet connection, but that's what it's meant to do. It's meant to keep in your local communities, and that's what we're trying to build here, build within the community, not necessarily across the entire country. Go for it. True. So Meshtastic, the way that the messages are received is they go through what's called a hop. So Meshtastic can only go through so many hops. I believe the max limit is 7 hops that it can actually go through, but by default it's set to 3. So when your message is traveling, it should only get so far before it hits a dead end. So we're never going to really see a Meshtastic device that's able to hop from Long Island all the way into California because it's going to stop somewhere before it can even get close to being over there. Yes, but by default, the limit right now is 7. Yeah. What's up? So that's where the argument between Meshtastic and Meshcore comes in. Meshcore does a really good job at storing it until it can find who's looking to receive it, but it's a lot more difficult of an infrastructure to get built up with Meshtastic being the name, the household name brand we can call it for now. What it will do is it will try to get there, but after a certain amount of time, it will just kill it basically. So if you're trying to message, let's say, we'll just use Ed as an example. Let's say you're trying to message Ed and it's trying to, I don't know why you try to message Ed, but if you wanted to message Ed, if you were crazy one day, maybe had too many drinks and wanted to message Ed, and you tried to message him, it will try to get there through the best path that it possibly can to find Ed. Now, sometimes we can't even find Ed, so if a mesh can, that's pretty impressive. But but it will do its best to find its best path to get to Ed. And then if it can't, it eventually just gives up and just says, sorry, we can't deliver your message. And that comes back to the reliability aspect of Meshtastic, where it will do its best to get there. But if it can't get there, it just gives up. And you don't really necessarily get a confirmation either that sits there and says, hey, Ed got it, or hey, we can't find Ed just like you can't. Yeah. Okay. Not without you actually pushing it back again. So I actually tried this week at school now that I have my own little note on me at all times. And I tried it at school to see if it got out anywhere. Checked back an hour later and it said it didn't get anywhere. And I was like, okay, try again. Didn't check again for another 6 hours. Opened up the app again and it said, hey, your message didn't make it. But I wasn't getting a notification saying like, your message isn't going through, try again. Like, no, it was just, I had to open it up and it tell me, hey, do better. No, unless you start it back over, it will only try so many times before it sits there and says, hey, I can't do this and give up on itself. Yeah. Exactly. Exactly. And once again, that's where the conversation of Meshtastic versus Meshcore comes in. Meshcore does a lot better at making sure messages get to where they need to get. Exactly. Exactly. So let's move on a little bit. So here's another option here, the LilyGo T3 S3. Now it features a tiny little screen. It's fully customizable. And if you have a 3D printer, it gives you a reason to use it. Next slide. And then on the lower end of ones that you could build, this is the Seed Studio kit that they have. It comes in at just under $10. $10. Now, you're going to have to do some soldering and some other nifty tricks that I probably can't do again after making this little thing. But it's the size of your thumb. There's no fancy features like GPS, but it will run Meshtastic, and that's the important thing here. Go to the next slide here. So we went over the good parts, how it's mostly easy, and how getting started with Meshtastic is pretty straightforward. There's a simple app on your phone. There's no license required as we've gone over a little bit already. And there's very little setup to get your first message out on the network. Now, most nodes will talk to each other right out of the box, and there might already be a mesh in your area waiting for you to join. If you're in the Nassau area or more towards New York City has a great mesh. I'll actually be in the city in like 2 weeks, and I can't wait to see how many nodes I pick up over there. But there is a lot of nodes in the city. We're just trying to build it more out here on the island now. So the more people that get involved, the more nodes we will have here on Long Island. And sharing access is super easy too. So about that privacy aspect, let's say you want to talk to only specific people. You don't want to talk to the entire network, as some of us have been sending messages today while we were here. You can get a QR code or a link to get your friends and family in a private group chat with you. This could be either friends and family. Maybe you want to just have a group chat private with Ed. You could do that too if you're willing to. Ed's very popular. He's an easy person to pick on over there. Yeah, it's very simple to get friends, family, or even your club onto the same channel. It's as simple as sending them a link, a QR code, or a private key that all they have to do is input it into their node, and you will all be on the same chat as long as you guys are, of course, in the same range that your message can reach there. Basically, the way that I like to put it is that if you know, yeah, go ahead. No, of course, go ahead. I'm so sorry for you. Yes. So my node will relay any messages that are going to another chat, but I can't sit there and receive that message in the sense that I can read it. So you may try to send a message to Ed that says, I love you, Ed. I don't know why you'd send that, but but if you wanted to tell Ed that you loved him, my node, if I'm in between you guys, will act as an intermediary, but not in the sense where I have any way to read the message. Yeah, I'm just playing Cupid and hopefully missing, but I'm playing Cupid. Yeah. I have not seen Meshtastic dating yet, but we're in 2026 and anything is possible. So I would not put it past people. Wow. Back on track here from Fleshtastic. That's a hard one to beat. But the easiest way I like to put it is that if you know how to install an app on your phone, turn on a device, those are the only two things you need to do, and you can use Meshtastic. Yes, mine will actually pass through, but this is where the small part of encryption comes in. My node will never even get a notification that you're sending through me. So it will just act as a beacon. It gets it, sends it out, and I will get a notification that says, hey, let's see how many I've passed today, actually, because it will actually tell me here. Let's see on mine. But I'll never know. So, for example, before I got here today, I had not seen a single message on the node when I was in school, but my Meshtastic app says that I've received 550 packets, which have then been passed off. So I have that information here, but I will never know what any of those 550 messages are or where they went to. Yep. So that's where it gets a little more complicated. There's device roles that you can limit that. I typically recommend if you have a node that is moving, you set it to a different mode. That's a whole nother conversation that we can have. But there is a mode that will basically make it that your node can receive things, but it won't act as a pass-through, because if you're a moving node, your reliability instantly drops, because if it's trying to get somewhere and thinks that you're the closest, but then you move a mile down, you may not be the closest anymore. Exactly. You could. But once again, of course, but I typically recommend there's a setting that will make your mobile node not a relay. So for example, this one that I have here, it acts as a relay to an extent, but for the most part, it will choose that. It will basically tell a Meshtastic network, don't use me if you don't have to. And if it's the only case scenario, then it will use it, but it will try to find somewhere else that it can go, knowing that I'm moving around and I might not be as reliable. Yeah, so in conclusion for this slide here, if you can install an app on your cell phone and you can turn on a device with a simple power switch, you can use Meshtastic. That's how easy it is. We'll go to the next slide here. So another good thing about it is that it's very expandable. So Meshtastic can be as simple or as advanced as you want it to be. For example, I soldered this. I thought it was the coolest thing ever. And I said, wow, I know how to build things now. And then I said, yeah, well, it doesn't have any bells and whistles or fancy features, and the screen's tiny, and I want to be able to have a BlackBerry-looking thing. So I bought a BlackBerry instead. And right out the box, I turned it on, and it worked. And that was great because it beat the hour that I had to spend building this, troubleshooting this, breaking it a few times. But eventually, I got this one working, and then I got nodes that I just got in the mail, turned them on, set them up, and I was good to go. It works great for basic messaging and location sharing, but if you like tinkering, there's room for you too. Like if you want to do what I did and hopefully not take an hour on this small little thing, you could try. You can also add sensors. So that's going to be weather sensors, air quality sensors, lightning sensors. Any sensor that you could really connect into your board will work with Meshtastic, and you can actually send it over Meshtastic too. You can also add displays. So like this one has a tiny little baby one, but the one that's on my pocket right now does not have a screen at all. Could I add one? Sure, maybe. Am I going to? No, because it works and I don't want to break it. The way that I've really seen sensors used, and I have another one on the way. Once again, it's all getting here Thursday, so it doesn't help me today. But more so how Meshtastic acts is just a relay. So you can be somewhere else and connect to your own home node and say, hey, what's the air quality? And your sensor can report back that information regardless of you not being physically at home. So it's all going to depend on how you set it up. You can set it up to relay every 10 minutes, every 10 seconds, every 10 hours. So most people by standard are going to set theirs to relay every 30 to 60 minutes, some even longer depending on how often they want to see it, but it will relay that information and be accessible for you to see in your Meshtastic app. What else here? You can also add automations and integrations. We spoke about MQTT a little bit. You can also use the Meshtastic API. Don't ask me about that. I know nothing about the API. It is way too much information that I have not dove into it just yet, but you can do it if you're smart enough. And you have enough time on your hands to do that. And you can also add custom software. There's custom software by the community. Once again, Meshtastic is a community-driven project, so there is custom everything for Meshtastic out there, whether it's a 3D model that you could print for your Meshtastic, whether it's a software, whether it's a dashboard. There's so many things out there that the community builds and is supported by the community that you can use and set that stuff up. And if you enjoy experimenting and building things, Meshtastic gives you plenty of room to play with. And if you don't, that's okay too. Meshtastic will still work right out the box for you if you prefer that. We'll go to the next slide. So just to wrap things up a little bit before we just do a quick little summary here, this is new from what I spoke about at Ham Radio University, just some things that I'm working on now personally since I spoke at Ham Radio University and just as we try to expand the mesh. So first thing, I'm working on getting my home node set up. That comes in the mail tomorrow, so hopefully I'll have that up and running and see how that works. I have the Seed Studio P1 Pro coming in. That's the one you guys saw on the slideshow earlier with the 5-watt solar panel. So that should be pretty cool to set up. Hopefully my dad lets me put it on the roof. We'll see about that part. But you know what they say, ask for forgiveness, not permission, right? So sorry, Dad. Anyways, I'm also working on always having a node with me. Yeah, you had a question? What happened? Yeah, I'm just going to get on the roof while he's at work, put it up there, and then if he sees the thing with the solar panel and asks about it, I say, hey, Dad, we're powering the house with solar now. So yeah, go green. Go green. 5 watts of solar. Yeah, that's how he felt when I set up a ham radio antenna at home. So I think we're pretty safe with setting up a little 5-watt solar panel. No, my dad's super supportive. So he actually really loves seeing all this stuff. And I usually don't have a problem with it. It's usually just the explaining part of why I'm doing it and how I'm not going to blow up the house doing it. That's the part that I have to explain to him. Another thing that I'm working on personally is just making sure I always have a node with me. I need to practice what I preach in essence. We're talking about always having a node with you, having a node on, and building the mesh. So I am trying to practice having a mesh on me at all times. I have this little tag one that I've been bringing me to school now. People ask me, why do I have a credit card on my waist? And I just say, this is my cell service. That's what I tell them because I'm not going to go into the whole spiel like we did here. And that usually shuts them up. But no, I'm just practicing what I preach. You know, I'm saying we want to build the mesh. We want to have nodes active, but it's kind of counterintuitive. I'm telling you to do it and I don't do it myself. It's, yeah, I can show you it after too. It's like, it's tiny. I'll tell them it's my personal tap to pay. There it is. So I've been working on making sure I carry one of these always with me. And when I'm not carrying this around, when we come to events like today, I have my Lily Goatee deck. That's the BlackBerry looking one that I'll bring out with me to events. And then finally, obviously growing the mesh. Point of doing these presentations, this is the first one I'm doing for a local club, so thank you guys for having me. But I have a bunch more planned out through the next couple of months where the whole hope and goal is to grow the mesh on Long Island. We see in New York City, if you go to New York City with the mesh, there are hundreds over there, but we don't nearly have anywhere close to that infrastructure here on Long Island. So the whole idea is to grow the mesh, get more people using the mesh, and grow our mesh so we can have coverage hopefully across the entire island, maybe even into New York City. Next slide, please. So, just as a quick recap of what we learned here today, and if you have any questions, we can go over all of them in a second. Meshtastic is a simple, affordable way to communicate when traditional networks aren't available or even reliable. It works without cell service, Wi-Fi, or the internet. You need no license to use it. So once again, you can connect your amateur radio license to this, although I typically recommend you keep it separate. There's no need to really connect it. You get extra power, but with this stuff, if you have an antenna high up, that's going to get you a lot farther than more power on these things. It's flexible enough for beginners, but powerful enough if you want to tinker with it. So if you want to build something, you still have the room to do that. There's likely already a mesh in your area. Since we gave that talk at Ham Radio University, there's been so many nodes popping up here in Long Island, in Nassau County, in Suffolk County, and more towards Queens. Yes. I believe the highest you can go is like 5 watts. It's really not much from what you're using on a smaller node. But I will always say this, a higher antenna for Meshtastic is going to do a lot better than more power on Meshtastic. Yep. So I think for ease of just being able to carry it with me all the time, I like the little credit card sized one. I put it on my pants pocket, I forget it, and I walk around with it all day. But when I go to like events or something, I really like having the T-Deck one, the BlackBerry one, because I don't have to worry about if my phone dies. That's the other downside of it. My phone dies very quickly. Having the T-Deck one, it runs its own separate battery, so I can get to an entire event on that alone. And if my phone dies, I still have a means of communication. Yes. I think it's 5. Yeah, 5 or 10 the most you could run as a ham. But if you're using it just as a regular user, that 1 watt's really most you're gonna get out of it. Yeah. Yeah, like the hams can't communicate with just regular Meshtastic users because once again, we can't encrypt things, and a big part of Meshtastic is that encryption. So as soon as you enable the ham mode on Meshtastic, you're basically locking yourself out from a good portion of the mesh. So I typically just tell people, keep your ham radio stuff and your Meshtastic stuff separate, but once again, it's all ham radio adjacent. So what else have we learned today? Hopefully. Let's see. Where was I? Oh, yeah. There's likely already a mesh in the area. So like I said, it's growing in Suffolk, it's growing in Nassau, and there's already a very big presence in New York City. So by getting involved, you're helping to continue to grow that mesh and just make the network stronger. And getting started, as we said, is super easy, and experimenting is a huge part of the fun. So I highly recommend you try to put together your own node, even if you hate it and you only bring it for show and tell when you do these presentations. But you still did it, so that's a cool thing. And for a lot of people here, Meshtastic ends up being a gateway into learning more about radio. I know for me, I've started learning a whole lot more things that I never would have if I didn't discover Meshtastic. So this has been a really cool learning gateway for me, just learning about radios, learning about networking, and just learning about off-grid messaging as a whole. And I think with that, I think there's one more slide. Little bit of a self-promotion here. If you don't already have a Meshtastic node, that's a QR code. It brings you to a nice little website. That's my personal website. I write things every now and then. I guess you can read them. I guess they're cool. But the more important thing is that QR code there or the website right underneath it if you're scared of my QR code, which might be a virus. You have to scan it to find out. But on that webpage, I have a full list of just nodes that you can get started with, most of which were in this presentation, some of which are new additions that I actually just added last night, one of them being this one that I have on my pant loop right now, because that was not in the presentation, but I use it. So that's on there too, and there's links to get all of them and get yourself started. So I've picked out a few for you. Very easy. You can click a link, you could buy it, and I legally have to tell you that I make a few cents off of it, but it's at no charge to you, so that's cool. What's up, Dustin? I have a lot on my page. Thank you. I write a lot on my page. I'm trying to build it out as just like I really made it as like a place to be where I can, I guess you could say like journal, but it's not because it's public everywhere and who wants their journal on the internet. But it's my little ham radio journal. It's just been my entire path to ham radio, how I got started, how I got here, and really everything that I do and everything that I learn. Because chances are, if I'm learning something new, there's somebody else out there that has no idea how to fix that same problem. So I put it on there, and that's my little website. So yeah, now you can get started. So you can buy a Meshtastic compatible device if you already don't have one. That link will give you a whole bunch of options. Install a Meshtastic app on your phone. It's free to download, and unlike that QR code, it's not a virus. And all you have to do is if you buy... Uh, all you have to do is power it on and pair it if you buy one that's ready to go, or if you buy one that you have to put it together, then power it on and pair it, and then you could join or create a channel. By default, you're going to join what's called long fast. That is the default channel for your Meshtastic node when you set it up, and that's what you hear all the beeping coming from today. That's everyone talking on a public channel that anyone can access, and that's where MQTT, as we mentioned before, becomes dangerous, because if anybody can message on it, there's a lot of messages that can come on it all at once. So say hi when you get it up and running and see if anybody's out there. Chances are you'll hit something, or if you're in Suffolk County and we're still growing it out over there, you might hit absolutely nothing besides a brick wall. So give it a shot, say hi, you never know what's out there. And my biggest piece of advice, if you do get a node, whether it's a home node, whether it's a mobile node, run it. Let it run for at least a week. If you can, even longer. The only way the mesh is going to grow and get bigger and become more reliable is if people are running their nodes and letting them stay running. So if you get a node, pick it up. Try to keep it running for as long as you can. I typically say start off with a week if you want to only run it for that time. But I always encourage you to do a lot longer than that, because once again, the mesh is only possible with people that are putting up their nodes. So with that, yes, so the phone, so for anyone that doesn't have a screen or a keyboard like the one that I have back there, like for example, this small one that I put together, you can't type anything on this. So if I want to say hi to Ed, I can't say hi Ed on this. I could say hi, I could say bye, I could say like 6 other things that are pre-programmed, but outside of that, I can't say anything else. So the phone is the basically interface side of it, where then you can go in, adjust settings, you can send messages, make group chats, all that fun stuff. So the phone app is really going to be essential if you don't get one of those nodes that is all in one, like the T-Deck that looks like the BlackBerry. Through Bluetooth. It's just all through Bluetooth. Just pair it with the phone. Meshtastic's app makes it super simple to connect it to the phone. And from there, you can change all the settings. Yeah. 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 So my credit card, my little credit card one on my pants pocket here, which I still can't figure out how to get this loop off. I've given up on it. Right now, as I've been walking around all day, as things pop up, I get notifications on my cell phone as I would with like my regular text messaging. So although it's not using my phone internet in any way, it's just using the phone as an interface, or I should say a larger screen. Exactly, because that's just running through Bluetooth, and the tower is going down. Is it going to affect Bluetooth to my device? Now, we have an apocalypse. That might be another question, but we're not talking about apocalypse here. Exactly. We'll worry about that when that gets here. We might have bigger things to worry about than Bluetooth. Yes, question. So that's just through local communities. So like your local club here, if they decide they want to put together their own channel, they could do that. There's also some really great resources online. One that I really enjoy is the New York Mesh. You can find them at nyme.sh. It's literally just New York Mesh with a dot in between ME and SH and Mesh. That's their website. They have a whole ton of information, very valuable information as well. And the guy who runs it is super knowledgeable about all things Meshtastic. So, oh yeah, no problem. Got it. No problem. Any other questions? Don't be afraid. You can ask me anything. Nice. Thank you. I like my web tab. Yes. So my idea is I'm doing a bunch of these talks across Long Island and beyond over the next few months. And my whole belief is that if I'm telling people to, turn on a mesh for a week or turn on their node for a week, and let's get the mesh active. How can I go out there and say that to people when I'm not doing it myself? So I only just got this in this past week. So this has only been on me for less than a week at this point. I think I first had it on me Sunday. But my whole ideology about it is that if I'm going to go out and tell people, let's build this mesh, let's grow it, I need to do what I'm preaching. So yeah, so now I have this on me. It's been on me since I got it in on Sunday. Obviously, it comes off me to charge. But aside from that, if I'm out of the house, it's with me. All the above. I've had all the strange rashes, everything. No. Yeah. I heard a question back there. The website URL is W2DIY. That's my call sign, .com. Oh, the New York Mesh. Oh, it's NY Mesh. So just put a dot in between ME and SH in Mesh. So it's NYME.SH. That's the website. And there's a lot of resources there, and that's a very good community that is building out here in New York City, Nassau, and Suffolk County. Yes. No voice on this. It's going to be text only. It's meant to only send small packets of data. So you're not sending video. You're not browsing the internet with this. But if you need a way to communicate, this is the way that you could do that for relatively inexpensive. And what do you call it? And it will get you out there. Correct. So the way you get it set up is you're going to go get a node. If you get one that's already ready to go, let's just say, for example, like the one I have on my waist here. When I got this, it came in the mail. I turned it on. It had a little instruction booklet that all it told me to do was download the app, hit search on the app. It found it. I hit connect, and I was paired, and that was it. And from there, I was able to send off my first message within less than 2 minutes. No, Meshtastic can only handle so much data at once. If you want to send a list of items, you'd have to do it in probably as many messages as you have list items. But once again, in one message, you're not going to be able to send like a full, let's say, a full info email, like a monthly newsletter through Meshtastic. Yes. Well, you could do it through that. It just depends on how much, what's the word? I can't find the words I'm looking for. Dustin, do you have a comment? Yeah, there's a character limit. I forget the character limit off the top of my head. I believe there is a character limit, but it's a byte limit because it doesn't go based fully off the characters. It go based off of how much you actually have. So like, for example, an emoji is going to take up more bytes than just regular plain text. Yeah. So it's going to use up, it's basically, as soon as you hit a certain point with your message, it's going to tell you, hey, this is going to be too big to send. You got to stop here. So question over here. Yes. I'm not familiar, so I don't know for sure. Networks is a strong way to put it. It's more the individual nodes we'll look for. So like, for example, when I was driving here from Suffolk County, I had no nodes over there. But as I got closer and closer over here, I started seeing, oh, a new node has been found. This node has been found. And when I got here, absolutely nothing. I was driving and focusing on the road, and that was it. And as I got pulled in here, I just saw I had 10 new notifications. It was 10 new nodes. And then I walked in, and Dustin has his table over there of goodies, and all of a sudden I had 100 nodes that were online. So yes. Yeah. Yeah, so for those on the Zoom that didn't hear, Dustin was just sharing that on the mesh right now that we're all connected to and seeing, someone in Wantagh was able to pick up our messages. And we have people all over that are picking up. I know before, I think we said College Point. There's a few others before. So, I mean, there's a ton of people that are on here right now and have been messaging this entire time. So just to show that a stronger mesh is going to get a lot more. And just as a reference, this is the most messages I've had on Meshtastic aside from being at any conference. So point is, when we grow out the mesh, we can have this larger communication. So as we're seeing College Point, we're seeing Wantagh, we're seeing all these different places that are able to connect to us from inside this room just because the mesh is established. Oh, East Meadow, there we go. So there's a bunch that are just able to connect just because people have meshes that are running all the time and are able to receive these messages. So, and that's just the people that are getting back to us. That doesn't even include the people that aren't responding to us. So we could be reaching, so many other places too. I think they're half a watt, if that. The question was about power level. I believe it's running like half a watt, if not even less than that. So, yeah. Yeah, most of them they're not making them for ham radio users for the most part. If you want to have that full 1 watt capability or even go up to that 5 to 10 watts, that's when you're gonna have to start tinkering and doing it yourself. But for the most part, out the box, they're less than a watt they're running. Yeah. Any other questions? Any comments, concerns, hatred towards me, anything at all? Yes. Yeah, we're very early in this stuff. So, yes, Ed. I'm very much here. I'm very much here, and I'll guarantee I have the coolest call sign in the room. Okay, yours is. I might be beat. I might be beat. You want to share your call sign for the room? N0THM or not ham. Yeah. So that's a good contester right there. But besides that one, no one else in this room's beating me.
Question from the
So
field.
that call sign was actually pure luck, believe it or not. I was looking for my initials, which is DIG. So I was looking for W2DIG realistically. And then I came up and saw that W2DIY was available, but W2DIG wasn't. And I said, how do I compensate for not having my own name? And I said, I know, I'll take a pretty cool call sign instead. So I took DIY and, oh, question on the Zoom, go ahead.
Yeah. Can you talk about addressing? You know, how you get a message to somebody you're interested in addressing?
Yeah, so if you're trying to get a message to somebody, it all works very similarly. We talked before about the group chats, the private messaging, but when you get your node set up, you'll actually have your own like private key or a QR code that you could share with somebody, even a link that you can send to them, and it will give them a direct line to you. And from there, you guys can talk on the mesh privately between you guys, and I say privately with air quotes because once again, the privacy isn't 100% there, but once again, you'll be able to talk on the mesh just by sharing that information with somebody else.
Ah, okay. So if you send a message on a specific key and large numbers of people have it, then they will receive the message.
Correct. So like, for example, let's say LIMARC wanted to put together their own group chat. They could do that. All they have to do is share that code to whoever they want to have access to it. And anyone with that code can send or receive the messages in that chat.
Right, and messages will be delivered to them.
Correct. The message will be delivered to the nodes that have access to that channel specifically, not anybody outside of that chat.
Ah, do you know um, about the routing?
Hold that question. There was a question in the room really quick. What was that question one more time?
About routing of the messages, how it works in these various nodes. Say my machine receives one and resends it. Does it just blindly do that, or does it have any knowledge of where to send it to get to the destination or destinations that it
So
needs?
it has an idea of where the node that you're trying to reach is, if it's in a certain area. If it is able to successfully pick up that node, almost like ping the node, to say the least, then it will know, hey, we can communicate with this, and Meshtastic software will be able to know what is the best path to get it there, whether that's directly to that person or whether it has to go through a couple of other nodes to get there.
Ah, okay,
Yeah.
thanks.
Yeah, no problem. Uh, what was the question one more time in the room here? So it tries to avoid duplicates. Actually, that's another one of the statistics that it shows me actually on the app. Let's see how many it tells me I have today. It tells me that's not what I wanted. It tells me that I keep opening the app. I want to just see the stats. There we go. It tells me that so far I've transmitted 12 packets today. I've received now 869 packets, which is a lot more than the 500 from earlier. It tells me the amount of bad packets I've received is 46. The number of duplicate packets I've received is 461. So it tells me all that. So it knows that it was already sent and received, and that it tried to use my node in some capacity to get the message where it needed to. But at that point, it was already where it needed to be and realized, hey, this is going to be a duplicate, and it canceled it right there. So it has duplication correction where it's not going to. So when it comes to naming, I personally think we need to eventually come up with some sort of naming convention for it. What I do with my own personal devices is I have a similar but different name for each one. So as an example, this one, I call it the kitty node. Its better name is the nugget is what they call it. So this one, there's two names you could set for your devices, the short name and a long name. So the short name on this one is DIY N, and that's for DIY Nugget. And then my full name is Do It Yourself Nugget. And then I have like my Meshtastic assigns you a 4-letter number combination, and I put that at the end just so I know. But for all my nodes, I do something similar where it's the last 3 letters of my call sign followed by some sort of identifier for myself. So my T deck that's over there, I have it named DIYT for T deck, and my pocket one here, I have it called DIYP for DIY pocket. So I personally just do last 3 letters of my call sign, and then whatever. Yes. So if you want to send a message to me, you could choose where you want to send it. That could be directly to, let's just say this Nugget one. It could be to the one that I carry on my waist. It could be any of them, but you would have to select which one you want to send it to. Yeah, so when it comes to that, you'll typically see which one is online and which one you can reach. And that's typically, I usually don't have all of them online at the same time, just because there'd be a lot of beeping. But typically, I'll try to keep only 1 or 2 on, depending on where I am and what I'm doing. Yeah. Question? Yes. Yeah. So by default, Meshtastic's going to give you that 4-letter number combo assigned to your device. You cannot change that. You can't get rid of it. So by default, every node's going to have that. And that's how it knows what node is different from the next. So let's say, for example, I named all my devices DIY, and you couldn't tell the difference between any of them. That 4-letter number combo that they randomize and give to you will be the way that you're able to tell what device is what. Although I don't recommend you do it that way. That's why I name my devices separately with some sort of separate way to tell them apart. If you do choose to name all of them the same, the only way you're able to tell the difference between them is by that 4-digit letter number combo. In the back? On the mesh, most of the messages that you're going to see right now are going to be people saying radio check 9 times out of 10. Because people are, it's It's such a new thing that people are just really testing it. But the most that I've really seen will be at like a convention or something where people are texting like, hey, this event's coming up next, or hey, who's at this event, or like who's planning to go to this. One really cool way that I saw it was when I did this talk at Ham Radio University. At the end, people were sending stuff in the chat saying, awesome job, great talk. So it's really used in different ways. It kind of depends on what environment you're in, though, as it's never really going to be consistent, same way as the repeaters in ham radio are. It could be used like that, but we don't necessarily need any of those shorter things because we have a lot more room to send a full text message. So I don't have to say like, I don't know. I'll just say like as an acronym, instead of saying OMW for on my way, I could type out on my way fully and there's no problem with it. So, oh, I'm going to type out OMW anyway, but I have the option to fully spell it out if I want to. So we don't have to necessarily use short codes when it comes to Meshtastic, but we obviously can if we chose to do that. But that's just a whole nother language we'd have to pick up and learn. So, yeah. So typically, I don't know the exact limit off the top of my head, so I don't want to give a wrong answer. But you have a certain limit of bytes is what it's used. So once you hit that certain limit, then it caps you out and says you can't type anything else. Yeah, I don't know the exact numbers. So I don't want to give any wrong information on that. 200. There we go. No, you're not gonna. That's a great way to put it. Weapon. No, it's like if it's unless you're doing it in like those group chats, it's like literally once you send it out, it's going wherever it wants to go. So, and it's gonna find the best way to get where you want it to get to. So, yes, yeah. So I've never like sat there and like watched my packets like where they go to. I send it out and hope that Meshtastic is in a good enough spot that it will get to where I need it to get to. Nothing. No, I've never seen anything like that. Typically, if you send a message, whatever order you send the messages in, that's the way it's going to get received. So I haven't ever encountered it where I've seen it otherwise, but I'm also not having long conversations with people on Meshtastic either where we're having that much dialogue where I've ever seen it get out of place either. So could it happen? Maybe, but not that I've seen. Yes, Ed. And I believe that incident was actually 2 years ago. And I believe as of last year, there was a new firmware pushed out specifically for Dayton that was pushed out, and it fixed every issue that they had. So the mesh worked flawlessly after that, but there was some issues that they had to work around a little bit. But yeah, so the mesh did break at Dayton. That was 2 years ago. But as of last year, if you guys have seen Ham Radio Crash Course, he does a really in-depth video about it, about all the fixes that were put in place for last year that mitigated those problems. Any other questions, thoughts, tomatoes from my head? Yes. Yeah. So we can't guarantee the security of it because it's the protocol as a whole that's unsecure. It's secure to a certain point, I'll say. So you can't fully guarantee the privacy. So go ahead. Yeah, I recommend a separate channel, but even then the separate channels aren't, there's been proven exploits against the privacy that is put in place by Meshtastic. So I wouldn't rely on it 100%. So don't go telling your deepest, darkest secrets or your social security number on Meshtastic. But a really cool application that I actually saw recently was a family on a cruise ship. They didn't want to pay for the cruise ship's plan. It was going to cost them like $800 for a week-long cruise. So they decided, let's get Meshtastic for the family. So they bought a bunch of these pocket-sized nodes, and on the ship, they used Meshtastic to stay in contact with each other. It was a family of four, and according to the post, it worked flawlessly for them. They set up a repeater in their room, which was luckily pointing into the ship. And from there, they had full communication around the entire ship for the family. So it's really good for that stuff. Just set up a channel and you're good to go. Yes. Yeah, so this is all open source. It's built on by the community. So there's a lot of products that are out there that have built on top of what's already out there. And we're only continuing to see more support by the community to make Meshtastic as well as it can be. Any final questions, thoughts? I'm still waiting for a tomato. Yes. So the question is about health and safety, and if I'm going to start glowing very soon because I carry a radio with me all day. I would have a bigger concern about a handheld radio than I would with this stuff because the power on this is just so minimal that you're more likely to start glowing from your 100-watt ham radio than you are from one of these small things. So yeah, you have more problem with the cell phone in your pocket. So this is such minimal power that the phone in your pocket is a bigger risk to make you start glowing than this is. So I personally have no concerns keeping this around my waist. If I start glowing, maybe that's a cool thing. Yeah, maybe my kids that will glow based on where I have it positioned. And that'll be a problem for my future kid. But no, it's such minimal power that I wouldn't worry about it, especially when we're amateur radio operators. We're putting out way more than this half a watt little device. Yeah. Any final questions? Going once, going twice. Sold. This has way less power than FRS. So, but it can get out a lot more because it's such small pieces of data you're trying to send out. So since the data is so small, you don't need as much power. So, and with that, that's it. That's it. Yeah. Thank you guys.